Guys, this is probably gonna be the spicy part of this install. If anything is gonna kill you, it will probably be this.
I'm gonna be doing a complete refresh on the suspension, this Fox body. I got the car sitting on jack stands now. I'm gonna start by removing the front wheels. The reason I'm doing all this work is because after 30 years of service, your control arm bushings and your ball joints are likely to look just as bad as mine do. You can see there that they're cracked. Okay, so this here is the ball joint or whatever's left of it from the other side of this car. This part failed on me as I was moving the car across the street and the tire came completely loose. Once this lets go, the only thing holding your tire is the spindle and the tie rod end, so you get movement like in and out. It's a pretty scary failure, and you wouldn't want that happening to you while you're on the highway or anything like that. So this is what basically triggered me to just replace everything right now. Okay, we're gonna begin disassembly. I'm gonna start by removing this caliper here. Okay, so the first thing you will notice is that this pin here is supposed to have some sort of grease or lubrication at the end. The reason why it's important is because this is a sliding caliper, so as the piston on the back pushes forward, this is supposed to clamp, so the whole caliper moves backwards as the piston pushes forward. And when you don't have any sort of lubrication, it makes it really hard to move. And also, if this gets wet, that's how your caliper can become seized. All right, so this is the first thing that I noticed that is wrong. There it is. So did you see how the brake pad just fell off there? This is pretty much dancing on the caliper. Alright, so the problem is you're supposed to expand these clips enough that when you put them on, it grips onto the cylinder there. So far, those two issues that we found are enough to get us in trouble. Okay, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna remove the disc. So I have to take off this dust cap to remove the bearing. Yes, I know this is not a hammer. There we go. And now we have this cotter pin. We can straighten it out. Once you get the screwdriver in there, you can just kind of force it out. There's a little cover here that you have to remove, and then a nut on the back of that. This is usually not that tight. You can usually back it out with your fingers. Seems to be a little tight, but not enough at all. See? So there's supposed to be a little bit of preload on the bearing, but this nut is never that tight to begin with. Remove that, and then there's a little
cover shield. Sort of looks like a washer, but it has that little keyway there, and then the bearing. So I don't know if you guys can see, that bearing looks pretty dry. Okay, so far I'm glad I'm doing this because nothing has been good so far. Nothing looks the way it's supposed to look. Alright, so now the disc should be able to come out. Yeah, there we go. So there's a cover, a dust cover, and another bearing on the back. I'm gonna see if I can get some grease in those bearings. Okay, so now that we have this out of the way, I'm gonna remove, probably gonna remove this dust shield here. Might just be leaving these off. They're honestly not that important. And the one on the other side, when the control arm came down, it kind of like wrecked it, so I might just leave both of them off. Weight reduction, guys. Okay, there we go. Okay, so at this point you're ready to start disassembling the rest of the suspension, which is going to be the sway bar link, the bolts that hold the strut, and the ball joint. But don't forget this very important step. You're supposed to have some sort of jack supporting the control arm, because if you forget to do that, then you're gonna have a very bad day. By the way, I am not a professional mechanic, and this is dangerous work, okay? So do it at your own risk. Make sure to take safety precautions. I'm just showing you the way that I do it, and it's worked for me so far, but I can't guarantee that you might not get hurt, or you might not destroy your car along the way. So watch several videos. This is just one way of doing it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off the first strut bolt. Go. One. Two. Again, make sure that you have the jack in place. So I'm not ready to let this go, so I'm gonna just put a nut in place. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the sway bar link. Okay, so once you have that off, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the ball joint bolt. I'll remove the cotter pin here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop off the bolt that's holding the ball joint in place. Once again, make sure if you're doing something like this that you have the jack holding the control arm in place. Okay, so at this point you got the spindle dangling around, so you're gonna turn the shock back around, and hopefully you'll be able to place one of these bolts back in the hole. Alright, so the purpose of that bolt that you saw me put back in place is so that it holds the spindle as I come back here and hammer on the side of the spindle so that this bolt lets go and the whole thing comes down, okay? So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna lower the jack. Alright, yes, there are better ways of doing this. There are specialty tools that you can buy, and if you got the means to do that, then go ahead, okay? But this is how I learned how to work, and I'm also broke, so you know, I'm gonna be using this. All right, let me lower the jack just a little bit. Saw that? So this is dangerous work. But now that it's out, I can just lower it. So when you're lowering, make sure to do it slowly, okay? Because the spring is still compressed. So once it comes down far enough that it loses all of the spring pressure, you can actually remove it. But just lower it slowly and get out of the way. Alright, so now we can get this bolt back out. If I can. I can move the spindle out of the way. There's it here for now. And so right now, all of the pressure of the spring is pretty much released, okay? So you can, with your foot, push down on it a little bit and it comes out. You see? No one had to die. Okay, so I'm gonna try to release this shock now. You see, the problem is the shock just spins, all right? But I'm gonna try to figure something out. So I'm still dealing with trying to get this nut out. I did everything possible. I hit it with the impact. I also tried using a flathead while I twisted this nut with the crescent wrench, and it's just not budging. And to be honest, I think that this nut has done enough effing around, so I'm gonna let it find out, okay? I'm gonna bust this nut. Well, there goes the shock. The last thing that I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to go ahead and remove the control arm. And then tomorrow I'm going to come back and assemble the suspension again. You might be able to get a better view from this side. Okay, so to pull out the control arm, you want to pull the bolt that is furthest away from the rack and pinion first, because that's going to allow you to pivot the arm. Otherwise you won't be able to get this bolt out without destroying the boot. Not that these are good, but you know. And there we go, guys. So the suspension now is fully disassembled. All right, so next day, I'm pretty much ready to start assembling the suspension again. The only thing I have to remove now is that sway bar bushing there that is also worn out and cracked. So this is the stuff that I'm going to be installing in place of what was there. It's a Coney orange shock,
and this is a Moog control arm that I ordered. This is the bushing that you just saw, and the sway bar link. This is daily driver level stuff, and which is what I plan to do with this car, just drive it. I took the liberty of finishing this side already. You can see there, everything's already in place. The only thing I have to do is add that top bushing on the sway bar link, but I'm gonna put the other side on first so that I can lift both sides, and it's gonna allow me to put that on. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install the new control arm. So I'm gonna put on this side first. That's the side that gives me the most trouble. So that. Go. And now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up. So the torque specs for these are about 115 to 120, I believe. And I've never used a torque wrench for this stuff, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it the same way I've always done it, kind of just feel it out. So it's starting to tighten up. I think that's good. All right, that's on there. Okay. So you should still be able to move these, but not very easily. Alright, so. Alright, here's the shock. I'm gonna be reusing the old dust cover and strut mount because they look like they're in good shape. Alright, so I'm gonna be installing this. Hopefully I can get it through with no problems. Luckily, the Coney shocks have a place to put an Allen key so you can hold the rod of the strut while you tighten the nut. There should still be a better way to do this, but this will have to do. Guys, this is probably gonna be the spicy part of this install. If anything is gonna kill you, it will probably be this. There's several better ways that you can do this than what you're gonna see me do here. Like you can go to I think a machine shop might do this. You can go and take the spring and they will compress it for you and tighten it up, you know, with some straps, so that whenever you install them, you just let go of those straps and the spring will set in place. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do it a different way. So if you're using stock V8 springs, you absolutely have to go get them compressed because there's just no way to get them in the car. You can sit there for hours and try. So these are aftermarket springs, so they're a little bit shorter, and this is the only reason why these will go in the way that I'm gonna put them in. Okay, so let me show you what I do. Don't try this at home, or if you do, then you know you're on your own. Okay, so this is what I do. Do you see this slot here? That's where your spring has to sit. Like the end of the spring sits there. Okay, so you're gonna grab the spring and you're gonna clock it, okay, so that the very end ends up sitting in that slot, like so. Hope you can see that. All right, once you have it in that location, then you're just gonna come and basically you have to push down on this and push the spring
in. Okay, so let me do that and then cut you guys back on. All right, so you see what I did there? So basically I clocked the spring and then I leaned it back and then I set it in place and basically wrestled it so that it could sit on the arm. I hope you guys can see that. I'm gonna get out of the way, use my face, and I'm gonna start pumping on the jack. There it is, guys. Thankfully no one had to die. So once you got the spring installed back on the control arm, you want to make sure that the end of the spring is sitting somewhere inside that cup right there and not on top of it. All right, so now we can start installing the spindle back on. All right, so technically this needs to be tightened up to 80 pounds, but what you'll notice is that when you start tightening it up too much, then the whole socket starts spinning inside the ball joint, so you're rarely able to do that. What I do is I tighten it enough, and it gets pretty tight, at least so that you can get the cotter pin to go through with no problems, and that's never failed me. So like so. And I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, keep this thing from twisting. There we go, guys. As you can see here, the suspension is pretty much back in place. I have the spring installed, the sway bar links, the arms are torqued, everything's ready to go. The only thing I'm missing is putting the brakes back on. So if you've gone this far, of course, I would recommend that you go ahead and get new rotors and consider changing the calipers. I'm not gonna do that. I ended up just packing the bearings again, and I'm gonna install the same stuff back on, and I'm gonna show you why in a minute, okay? So the rotor looks like this because we had a little bit of rain, so they got a little wet, but it's just flash rust. I'm not really worried about that. Put this bearing back on. Okay. And a little washer or spacer. Then I'm gonna come in here with that little nut. So you're supposed to add a little bit of preload to the bearings, but it's not supposed to be very tight at all. Okay, so I've kind of gotten the feel of how tight these are supposed to be, so I don't need to come in here with the torque wrench or anything. Okay, so they're not very tight at all, so that feels about right there. Okay, and now
going to put the little crown back on. That feels pretty good. Okay, so back to when I was disassembling the brakes. Don't forget to add lube to the sliding portion of the pins here. I'm gonna be opening up these clips just enough so that when I stick them on the caliper, they're gonna be held on tight, not swinging around like they were. Just a little bit more. That's the reason why these clips are so flimsy to begin with, so that you could bend them with your fingers and secure them correctly to the caliper. There it is. There you go. Alright, so at this point I'm pretty much done with the front suspension on the T-Top. I replaced the control arms, the shocks, the sway bar, bushings and links. So I cleaned these up with some brake cleaner, and you can see they look a lot better because it's just flash rust. Anyway, I'm going to show you the reason why I didn't replace this with new rotors and new calipers in a minute. So all there's left to do in the front suspension now is to replace the rack and pinion, which I'm looking for a replacement right now, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. If I'm going to be rebuilding that one or just replacing it. Okay, so this is my notch back here, and I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek into what's going to happen with the T-Top shortly. So this here is a complete 5-lug conversion and Cobra calipers and rotors, and this most likely will end up going on the T-Top at some point, and that's why I didn't replace, you know, the calipers and the rotors as I told you guys that you should. Okay, so this is what's coming, guys.